every day I'm in the operating room, I tell patients what I'm going to do, and I'm asked the question, are you going to give me the drug that killed Michael Jackson? I get that question daily. This is a fear that patients do not need to have. You document, you document, you document, you write down everything. Stop. These little dots here, this is the systolic pressure. Actually, that's the heart rate there. He's going to be putting in the diastolic pressure down here. These are coming in every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes, he's writing this down. What was happening during the procedure? Keeping this is a fundamental responsibility to the patient. The worst disasters occur in sedation, and they occur when people cut corners.
Like the facts in this case demonstrate?
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
The facts in this case, in my view, suggest that virtually none of the safeguards for sedation were in place when propofol was administered to Michael Jackson.
If Dr. Murray had been prepared with a proper pulse oximeter with alarm, would you agree that that likely could have saved Michael Jackson's life?
That would have saved Michael Jackson's life. If Michael Jackson had a bad experience, I don't know what, but a day later he says, I had a bad experience, Dr. Murray, what did you do to me? He has a right to know what was done to him. He has a right to see what the doctor did to him the night before. And with no medical record, he is being denied his right to know what happened to him. On the other hand, if Michael Jackson should not survive, the family has a right to know what happened to him. And with no medical record, the family has been denied that right. Michael Jackson, it seems, said, I want propofol. And I want propofol every night to go to sleep. And Conrad Murray said yes. And that is what an employee does. And I do not see the difference between Conrad Murray saying yes to the request that Michael Jackson is making and a person who cleans the house. The polypharmacy in this case suggests that it was done without any real understanding of the drugs that were being used. Midazolam's been given and lorazepam's been given. It would take me a couple days to try to figure out with the models that I have what the effect of that would be. It's not clear. I could calculate it, but it would take time. Then you have a patient who may be withdrawing from benzodiazepines, from Valium-like drugs. After all, this patient's been getting them every night for 80 days and may have withdrawal from them, or may have tolerance to them. We don't know. Could the patient have tolerance to propofol? It's not well documented because nobody does this. We are in pharmacological never-never land here, something that's only been done to Michael Jackson and to no one else in history. Just on first principles alone, oral propofol has no biological activity. The liver is so avidly, the liver has such powerful mechanisms for metabolizing propofol that only a very small percent can get past the liver. This is a principle that is taught to first-year medical students, and it's called the first pass effect.
There was zero possibility that Michael's oral ingestion of propofol,
Correct.
whether it occurred or not, caused his death.
Correct. Femoral vein concentration is what was measured on autopsy. That's the 0.169 that was measured. 0.15, 0.20, 0.169 is right here. And it gives us, if you will, a target. This is the number that we need to account for, because that's what they measured. And this dose of two doses of 2 milligrams doesn't get you there. It's not consistent with what was found on autopsy. In fact, his veins were so poor that Dr. Murray had to start this IV in a vein that was below his left knee. So to have to resort to a vein below the left knee suggests that there were no good veins that were accessible to Dr. Murray. So the possibility of a direct self-injection seems extremely unlikely. And also propofol stings. You would not want to inject this into, you would not want to try to inject it into a vein and miss, because that would actually be extremely painful. This is a notion of somebody who's putting themselves unconscious, a general anesthetic dose, then waking up and drawing up drug, and which takes time, and re-injecting it. I mean, people just don't wake up from anesthesia like that. People just don't wake up, hell-bent to grab the next dose in a syringe, draw it up, and shove it in their IV again. I mean, it's a crazy scenario. The way it was described, which was not the way somebody trained in the administration of intravenous drugs would do this. You wouldn't clamp this, give the drug, and then unclamp this. It doesn't make sense. If the saline bag is turned off, this will speed up quite a bit, because there's no pump controlling the rate of this. You're dependent on gravity. And the set is not designed to be used that way. The set is designed to be used with an infusion pump controlling it right here. But there was no infusion pump. So it's an intrinsically dangerous setup.
Taking all the evidence that you've reviewed and all the deviations from the standard of care, you concluded that Conrad Murray was not only a substantial factor, but a direct cause of Michael Jackson's death?
Yes. He is a physician who has brought propofol into the room, started an intravenous, and provided access to propofol to a patient who may, in fact, be developing a dependency on sedatives. And he has been entrusted by Michael Jackson to look after his safety every night. And he has failed that responsibility while enabling the administration of intravenous propofol. He is responsible for every drop of propofol in that room.
And the lorazepam?
Every drop of lorazepam in that room.
You stood in front of the jury with this bag, right?
That's correct.
And you stood in front of the jury with one of these bottles.
That's correct.
Right. And you propped up one of these bottles in this bag, right?
Correct.
And you said, that's what I think happened.
That's correct.
Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
That's a bold claim, isn't it? Isn't that a bold claim?
It's an honest statement. It's what I think happened.
Well, actually, what you said was you couldn't conceive of even one piece of evidence that would contradict that claim.
I'm not aware of any.
You came into court and said, I'm disappointed in Dr. White, right?
Correct.
You preferred to shove it down his professional throat, is what you did.
It's a tad of an argumentative question. Mr. Chernoff?
Dr. Schaefer, you
just
didn't...
a moment, please.
Okay. I'll withdraw the question.
Another question, please.
Dr. Schaefer, you didn't even stop there, did you? You didn't even stop there, did you? You literally swallowed propofol.
Before the study, yes.
You literally took 20 milliliters and swallowed it. So before you even testified, you knew that Dr. White was not going to say that Michael Jackson swallowed propofol. Well, drug shipment doesn't mean drug usage every day.
I have no medical records. I have limited access to knowing what actually happened.
So since you have no medical records, you made that assumption?
What assumption?
That since you have no medical records, you made the assumption that Dr. Murray gave Michael Jackson lorazepam for 80 days?